Hey, I'm Aaron, and I'm here to talk about the Trance Audio Amulet M pickup, acoustic guitar pickup. It's the pickup I have in this guitar. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to talk a bunch more about it in a little bit, but first let's take a listen. So that was recorded direct, with no EQ or effects, just a straight signal from the pickup into the computer through an interface. So the first thing I'll say is I don't really like any acoustic guitar pickup recorded direct. It's just not It's not a sound I like. It doesn't compare with a mic. They do sound much, much better when plugged into a PA or an acoustic amp. That said, what a pickup sounds like direct can give you an idea of what it might sound like in a live environment. It could be very useful from an information standpoint. If you want to listen to a ton of pickups recorded direct, you should check out Doug Young's site. I'll link to it in the description. He's done a lot of work over the years to capture a huge variety of pickups. All right, let's talk about what this pickup is. Trance Audio is the company. The pickup system is called the Amulet M. Now, Trance Audio is not a widely known brand, at least in comparison to some other pickup companies. But they are used by artists like Paul Simon, Emmylou Harris, Jackson Browne, Sheryl Crow, Neil Young, David Crosby, Beck, John Fogerty, Bonnie Raitt, Ben Harper, Michael Hedges, Tom Waits, and so on. So while they aren't as popular or well known as other brands, particularly brands that may come factory installed in guitars, they are pretty highly regarded and used by many great artists. Trance makes a few variations of their pickup. This is the simplest of all the Trance Audio pickups. It's the Amulet M. It costs $279. I bought mine through Maury's Music. I have no affiliation with them or with Trance. I'm just a satisfied customer and wanted to share about it. I'll link to both of them in the description as well. Trance makes a stereo version of this pickup. I think that's what a lot of the bigger artists use. They make a version that runs on phantom power, so you don't have to have a battery in it, in your guitar. And then they have add-ons like a volume control and tone control. The Amulet M consists of two three-dimensional rectangular pickups that Trance calls lenses. These get taped to the bridge plate of your guitar in line with where the saddle is. The lenses then get plugged into a preamp that's connected to an N-pin jack. There's no volume control or tone control on this particular model. That's something I actually really like, simplicity. There is a trim pot on the preamp that adjusts the volume of whichever lens is plugged into input A. And this allows you to set the overall balance between the two pickups to whatever you want. You can get a very even tone across from the bass to the treble, or you could dial in a brighter tone or a darker tone depending on what you're after. This is a set it and forget it style trim pot, as it's not accessible without removing the preamp. This is an active system and it does require a battery. I know some people don't like that. I don't mind. Next, I want to talk about kind of what led me to try out this pickup, the installation of the pickup, and what I like about it. Maybe compare it to some other pickups that I've had. So this is a Gibson 1935 Jumbo made for Fuller's Vintage Guitars in Austin, Texas. The 1935 is in reference to the model or the style, not the year that it was built. Based on the serial number, I think this was built in 2003. I bought it used in 2018, and it is fantastic. It gets really, really close to not only the sound, but also, and probably just as important for me, the feel of the vintage Gibsons that I've played and I've loved. It didn't come with a pickup, so I started exploring my options right away. Most of my life, I've had undersaddle pickups in my guitars. These are the most popular and widely used category of acoustic guitar pickups, and I've tried a bunch of them. Fishman, Baggs, B-Band, D-Tar, a lot. And I ultimately landed on using a Highlander IP2 and had that system in two guitars for many, many years. It is a bit of an oddball when it comes to undersaddle pickups, in that it is coaxial rather than flat and requires a very precise round groove to be routed out of the saddle slot of the bridge. So the pickup sits in this groove. Let's see, how do I put this? So I DIY everything, and this is not a DIY install. I live in Minneapolis, and there was a shop called The Podium here, and Marty was their luthier, and he installed these for me. What makes them better than others, in my opinion, is the fact that the pickup is sensing pressure changes from all directions. So it's hearing the tonal qualities of the wood and the structure of the instrument, and not just the direct strings sound through the saddle. It is a UST, so it does share those characteristics though. I did move on from the Highlander a few years back when I heard the LR Baggs Anthem in a friend's guitar. The Anthem's a great pickup, and I probably would have put it in this guitar, but this guitar has a through saddle. So the saddle slot is routed all the way through the bridge. And this doesn't totally disqualify it from a pickup system that uses an undersaddle pickup, but it makes it difficult enough that I wanted a different solution. I don't love magnetic pickups on acoustic guitars, so that led me to soundboard transducers or bridge plate pickups, whatever you want to call it. The K&K is a really popular one. It's not terrible, but I don't love it. I knew I wanted something different. I've tried the I-Beam. It was okay. I haven't really tried many others, so I started looking for what other options were out there that I maybe didn't know of. And the two pickups that piqued my interest the most were the Dazo pickup and the Trance Audio, which is what I ended up choosing. A couple things that stuck out to me that I liked that made me more comfortable trying the Trance without any experience was the fact that it's adhered to the bridge plate with tape. Not just any tape, a very specific tape that's supplied by Trance. But this made me feel a little bit at ease, because if I didn't like it, I knew I could remove it safely without any damage, any glue residue on my guitar. I like that. The Dazo uses epoxy, and just to be clear, I'm not totally opposed to glue, and especially if it's to install a pickup that you know you already love, and great, glue it in and enjoy. The tape just gave me some comfort, as it was a bit of a gamble to try something that I'd only read a few reviews and heard a very few amount of clips online. So all of this led me to try out the Trance Amulet pickup. And boy, I gotta say, I'm really glad this has a through saddle, and it sort of forced me down the rabbit hole of finding new options, because I'm really, really liking this pickup. I put it in right away. I've had it in for 3 years. This is not a honeymoon experience. I'm very satisfied. I am still curious about the Dazzle. I'd like to try it in another instrument. I'm also curious what you guys are using. So comment below, and I'd love to hear it. All right, let's talk about the install. There's a lot of talk about this being a difficult pickup to install or finicky about placement, etc. Now, I've only installed this one, so I have very, very limited experience, but I gotta say I didn't find it difficult at all. I DIY everything, so that might be part of it. But Trance Audio has very detailed instructions with a ton of pictures and everything that you need. So as long as you're patient and follow the instructions, I really think this is a pickup that almost anyone can install. So first you have to check to see if this pickup is compatible with your guitar. And the main reason it might not be is the size of your bridge plate. There's a really great video on Maury's music site that shows you how to do this. Then, following the Trance Audio installation instructions, you make a template out of cardboard that is used to allow you to place the two lenses exactly where they are supposed to go. This is the one I made. I decided to put this painter's tape on it here so that there were no little bits of cardboard that could stick to the double-sided tape. Also made it easier to slide the pickup along the side of the guide as I was installing it. You put some of the double-sided red tape that's provided on it, and you use the guide to stick it to the bridge plate directly under the saddle. There's this little clamp that you use to put the pressure on the pickup, and thus the tape to set it. Now, Trance Audio recommends clamping it for 8 to 12 hours. I know some people don't do this and they still have good results. I had no reason to not follow these guidelines, so that's what I did. One at a time, clamping them overnight. Then you plug them into the preamp while the preamp is outside of the guitar body. This allows you to plug into an amp or a PA, or a mixer or interface, anything that allows you to hear the balance of the two lenses. And then you adjust the trim pot, which is a volume adjustment of the lens that is plugged into input A on the preamp. So once you have the balance how you like it, you mount the preamp into the guitar through the end pin, and you mount the battery bag, and off you go. It's really not much more difficult than installing an undersaddle pickup, in my opinion. With the undersaddle installation, you still are drilling or reaming out the end pin of your guitar if it's not already done. And then you have to drill a hole through the saddle slot in the bridge. And then you have to sand the saddle down to compensate for the added height of the pickup element itself. I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier or harder, it's just different. And I think it's the clamping time that people don't like and the worry that they didn't get it in the right spot. Maybe the prescribed spot in the instructions isn't best for every guitar, but I imagine it is for most. And with that, I think it's really almost the same in terms of difficulty. But it does maybe require a little bit more time, a little more patience, and precision. I really like the sound of this pickup, but I also really like the feel of it, the responsiveness and dynamics of it. So this guitar is very responsive, it's very dynamic. The sound just sort of jumps out with very, very little effort. It's the thing I love about the vintage Gibsons, and this guitar has that. It's one of the reasons I bought it. The Amulet pickup is either picking that up or it just has those characteristics as well. I suspect it's just the way it's designed and would have this quality in any guitar that you put it in. Another thing I like about it is that it doesn't feed back. I've played this in large rooms, loud PAs, noisy crowds, and there is no feedback. It's great. And lastly, it's simple. It doesn't require a lot or really any outboard equipment to work and sound good. You know, that said, I do use a few pedals, but I really wouldn't need to. I'm not drastically EQing anything or masking it with effects. I'm just like giving it a little extra. I was gonna say icing on the cake, but I don't really like cake, so it's like the garnish in a cocktail. It does serve a purpose in making a small change to the drink in the way that it smells and tastes and looks, but if the cocktail isn't mixed well or made with quality ingredients, it's not gonna be saved by an orange peel. By the way, today I mixed up a Monte Carlo. It's some rye, a little bit of Benedictine, some Peychaud's bitters, and lemon peel for garnish. All right, let's talk about it in comparison to some other pickups. In comparison to Highlander, this is way better, period, hands down. No disrespect to Highlander, I used them happily for 18 years. This just fits me better. And that's the thing, what works for me, or what I think is best, may not work as well for you. There's so many factors in these things. I'm just telling you about my experience and letting you hear it to give you some more information on a pickup that when I bought it didn't have a lot of reviews or demos or information on it at all, aside from their website. Now, of course, in the time that it took me to make this video, another Aaron on YouTube, Aaron Short, hosted a live stream along with Maury from Maury's Music and talked about this exact pickup for 2 hours. So definitely go check that out. He's got a bunch of reviews of pickups and gear as well. And in addition to having the same name, I find that we have similar taste in pickups and what we are looking for and like in a pickup based on watching some of his videos. So tip of the cap to you, Aaron. I don't have any Martin guitars though, so we do differ there. If it's not clear at this point yet, I really like the Trance Amulet M pickup. The only other pickup I've liked this much is the Anthem by LR Beggs. I may do another video down the line comparing this to the Anthem I have in another guitar, but I will just say that they are both great pickups. I think the Anthem sounds great. I don't always love the feel of it, and a lot of that depends on the room and the band dynamic. I also think that's partially the fact that I have 20 years of experience with undersaddle transducers, and so I'm very used to the feel of UST in terms of the immediacy and exaggerated punchiness. In quieter spaces or smaller bands, I think the Anthem shines, and I don't mind the feel in those contexts. The Trance hits a sweet spot for me. I think it sounds really good, and it has a feel that I love. I don't think it's quite as natural sounding as the Anthem, if I'm honest. It's plenty natural, and it's not overly plastic sounding or quacky sounding like a lot of undersaddle transducer pickups, but it's not as mic-like as the Anthem. And of course it's not. The Anthem is a mic, or at least a big part of the system is a mic and the sound of a mic. The Trance has a way of straddling this line between natural and authentic sounding and punchiness and ability to cut. So with the Anthem in a loud setting, some of that individual string to string distinction is lost. It becomes almost soft sounding and can get somewhat washed out. In a more intimate setting, a venue that is more of a listening room, the Anthem's great. And if you're recording direct, the Anthem works really well. If you play in a full band or in a loud venue, the Trance has the ability to give the best of both worlds, in my opinion. It really sounds and feels incredible. All right, thanks for sticking around. Cheers.